Hi, welcome back. Okay, today we're going to be focusing on pelvic health. So not only pelvic health for women, but for men as well. So go ahead and get a couple bolsters, a couple blocks, a few belts, gather whatever you have. If you don't have all of that, then we'll make do. Have a chair and maybe a little extra pad or cushion, something thin you can place behind you when we go over to the wall. Okay? Before we start our practice, I wanted to let you know about my online programs and workshops. Whether you're new to Iyengar yoga and want to learn the basics in a systematic way, a seasoned practitioner looking to revisit the essentials, or a yoga teacher seeking inspiration. These programs and workshops are self-paced, allowing you to make consistent progress and revisit specific topics whenever you like. You can find the link in the description below. With that said, let's begin our practice today. So let's get started. I'm going to come up, take the block away, and we'll come into Supta Baddha Konasana, and we're going to face the wall with the toes at the wall. So we'll be turning the toes, bringing the feet together. So you're going to turn this way. You don't need to have the belt for this particular one. You'll lift the hips, bring the hips in, and then come down on your elbows and your forearms and the back of the head. So many times we do Supta Baddha Konasana with the bolster. Here we're not going to. We're focusing on the pelvis. And so we'll just allow that opening to come. You'll lift, you'll tilt the hips, and you'll press the feet together. You can take your hands on the sides of your mat, roll your shoulders under, and then take the arms above the head, interlace the fingers, come into Baddha Konasana. So as you press the feet, the mounds of the feet, the heels, lengthen the inner leg to the inner knee and draw back from that outer hip. And then press the hands. And as you press the hands, press into the feet and lengthen the top of the buttocks so that the lower back is coming toward the floor. And then lift the lower back up toward the middle back. Extend the arms completely. Bring the arms up. Change the cross on the fingers. Broaden the hand. So keeping the arms connected to the shoulders so that when you move your hips toward the wall, you can lengthen the back waist corners all the way up through the outer arms, shoulder blades moving down, chest opening. And then just look at your legs. I can see one leg is lifted a little bit higher, so I'm going to release the buttocks a little bit more. So one leg is a little bit tighter, so aware of that. You can even come up, depending on how that felt in your hip socket. You can bring a couple blocks just to the sides, or a blanket, something where you're aware of the hip socket. And then from there, you can press down into that to get a little bit more opening. You have a little bit of leverage when your leg is lifted off the floor. You can release down, but maybe you start to get some strain in the leg. So having a little bit of height, if that's too much a block, just take a blanket, roll a blanket. And then take your arms over again, press the feet, lengthen the back waist corners, up through the middle back, upper back. Have the back of the head right on the floor. So in this position, the shoulders are moving down, shoulder blades moving down, and you're right on the back of the head, as I mentioned, and the chin is moving slightly down, so your throat is soft. All right. So just be aware of those outer hip sockets, the muscles around the hips. You can take the blocks away now, if you use the blocks, and then you're going to roll to your side and come up. Now you're going to go to the wall to Upavistha Konasana. So you bring the heel, the inner heel, and the mount of the big toe to the wall. Adjust your hips, so rolling the inner thigh back, spreading the buttocks, spreading through the sitting bones, knees and thighs facing up toward the ceiling. So here you're still getting that openness through the pelvis. By descending the head of the femur bone down, you can lift the lower ribs up, and make some space in the front by the pelvis, by the lower abdomen, up, lifting up into the chest. Spread your toes, draw your toes back towards you. And then you can take your hands behind you, be on your fingertips, roll the shoulders back, shoulder blades moving in and down. Press down into the fingertips to feel that lift through the side trunk, right up to the armpit chest. Without moving your shoulders up, release the shoulders down. You can bend the elbows slightly. Stay there for a few breaths. And then release the legs. Let's turn around now. We'll turn around and have the hips at the wall. Now, if it's difficult for you to sit, first just bring the legs out. It's difficult to sit without sinking. We're using the wall so you can feel that lower back. Then just have a little bit of height, maybe one blanket. Okay, I've just gotten another white blanket here that you can fold when you're close to the wall and fold it in that narrow length and sit on that. So if I were going to use that, I would have it behind me. So you can prepare that. You can come closer to the wall when you have it folded in that narrow fold, and then be on the backs of the thighs. So from here, bring your fingertips back, coming into that Upavistha again. So you're getting that space in the pelvis. You're not dropping the pelvis down, dropping the abdomen down, but from the backs of the thighs descending, you're lifting up through the pelvis, through the navel, and getting that lift through the chest. Now bend your knees, come back into Baddha Konasana. So we just did this at the wall. Now you're going to use the back against the wall. Bring your feet in as far as you can. Okay, and now you have a little bit of blanket support there. So just feel that buttock right under the blanket. And then take the hands and just be aware of the direction of the leg. So the leg is externally rotating in the hip socket. You're lengthening through to the knee and drawing back through the outer knee to the outer hip. So you can take your hands now, and as you press your hands onto the leg, you're still getting that slight turning of the leg. So you can feel that opening through the pelvis. Bring your shoulders to the wall, and then lift up through the front body. I have the whole back of the arm to the wall, so I can use that to place my head, shoulder blades moving down, lower back moving away from the wall, abdomen lifting up, pubic bone lifting up. And take a few breaths there. So this work with Upavistha and Baddha Konasana gives you tremendous circulation in the pelvic area, which is not only good for men, but it's good for women, especially on their cycle, men for prostate, and just getting some movement, circulation into that area, which is connected to all your internal organs. So getting that space, circulation, oxygen, and starting to move any kinds of blockages with that circulation. Okay, let's take your arms up, interlace, reach the arms up. Parvatasana, press the hands up, release your hips down, keep the arms straight, and just here, be aware of that length coming from the inner groin to the inner knee. Knees pressing down, thighs pressing down, trunk lifting up, and then bring the hands down. We're going to come back into that Upavistha Konasana now, just to get that openness to the knees after you've been sitting that way. Fingertips behind the thighs and lift up. All right, for our next pose that we'll do, we're going to go into Supta Virasana. So I'm going to have you have 2 blocks and 1 strap. We're going to bring the strap around the knees from Virasana. If you need to have more support under your back, you can have a bolster as well. All right, so now bring the legs together. And we'll turn toward the wall. So we're going into Supta Virasana with the knees at the wall. So you can feel the direction of the legs. And you can get a little bit more length through the pelvis and also through the front groins. So you'll take your strap. Now, depending if you can sit on the floor or not, if you can't, then you're going to have a block to sit on or the bolster and then build up 1 more bolster. If you can sit on the floor, just take your thumbs behind your knees, extend your calves so that muscle behind the knee, if it's bunched up, just make some space there. You have 2 muscles. One is lengthening and one is drawing to the side. And then just sit in Virasana. Arrange the toes. So just make sure that the toes aren't stuck. So you can spread the toes. And I want to be close enough to the wall. So I may have to go down and then adjust myself. You're going to take the strap and open the strap out so that you can bring it right around the middle of the thigh, more toward the top, but not too far up. And lift your knees. And by lifting the knees, you get a little bit more space in the ankle. Make that space through the front of the shin and the ankle bone. And let's just sit in Virasana for a moment. Bring your hands back. Press your outer foot down. Lift up through the chest, getting that same concave back action that we had earlier. Shoulder blades in and moving forward. And now I put the blocks behind me, so depending on your body, your length, so I'll bring the block right in this space and then a block for my head. So when I go down, I want to tilt the pelvis so that the lower back is lengthening and be close enough to the wall that I can feel when the thighs are lengthening, the quadriceps, I can feel the knees at the wall. So first come down onto your elbows, just be there, and then lift your hips up. You can even take your hands on the buttocks, move the buttocks flesh down, and here I have this block right in the center, and then I bring the head down. Okay, so here I can feel the knees at the wall. So I'm lengthening the thighs, and I'm moving the knees down so that the knees, the shins, and the thighs are descending. And then observing that strap. So the backs of the thighs are moving towards one another. So the hamstring muscle from the sitting bone to the back of the knee, those are not extending, but they're drawing towards one another as the front thigh extends and lengthens. So just be here, take your arms over your head, bring the block in such a manner that you can bring your arms beyond the block to get that extension as you press the knees and lengthen the thighs. So just adjust it so that when you bring your arms over, if you can't bring beyond the block, then just rest the arms on the block. If you can bring the arms beyond the block, do that. So you're lengthening from the wet back waist corners to the front body. That anterior spine is lengthening. And as you hold onto the elbows, press the knees into the wall. Tailbone is moving in. Pubic bone is lifting. Here we're getting nice space through the fronts of the thighs, but also into the lower pelvis and the lower abdomen, and then, of course, up through the whole spinal column. Extend your arms out. We'll change the cross on the arms, holding in the opposite way now. Hook your arm on that block, and as you do that, move the tailbone down, top of the buttocks down, and Lengthen the legs, press the knees. And as you have the knees at the wall, then just let the buttocks spread and be wide. Okay, now you can either stay in this position, or you can now come up and turn the blocks down to the lower height. So depending on your practice and what you're able to do, you don't have to come up very far. I'm just coming up onto my elbows, turning that block, and then my knees come up off the floor as I do that. For some of you, you may not need a block at all. You can be on the floor. But what you want to watch is that the pelvis is in the right position. So you're tilting the pelvis, bring your arms over, hold on to the elbows again, adjust that head block, and extend. So breathe into whatever sensation that you can feel and see if you can be with that as you lengthen, as you soften, as you descend your thighs, as you lengthen your lower back and extend through the side trunk. Walking your knees down if they came up, and then change the cross on the arms. So this is a position that you can do anytime, as far as if you've eaten a meal or you feel that you have indigestion or there's some cramping in the stomach, whatever you may have going on, this is a nice position to do. Sometimes you have to build up to it over time if the hamstrings are tight or the quadriceps are tight. So once you've built up to it, you can stay longer and longer. You can also use a bolster behind you. All right, we're going to come out now. Extend the arms, and then bring the arms down. Bring the hands back onto the feet, and from there, you're going to walk the elbows back. Take the hands behind you. Come up from the back body. So not lifting the head up more than the back. Press the hands, lift the chest, and come back up. Adjust your thighs. And now we're going to go into Parsva. So I'm going to take one hand over the outer calf, the other hand on the block. Inhale, lift. So as the hips move down, the lower back lifts up. Abdomen moves in, and the lower rib cage is lifting up, chest is lifting. Have a few breaths there. And then come back to the center. We'll do the other side. One hand back. So adjusting the block however you need to. If you're on another block, you may need to take the block up to the higher height. You can even take the block a little bit further back so you get more openness through that front chest. Sit evenly. Press the toes down, fronts of the ankles. Inhale, lift. Exhale, turn. So twisting is such a nice feeling, sensation. It's not only activating, but it's also quieting. So as you lengthen up, creating that space, and then you turn, take a few breaths there without losing it. And then inhale again, and exhale, turn. You can still feel the knees at the wall. The knees are at the wall, hips are on the floor, and you're feeling grounded. Okay, release. Now let's take the strap off. You're going to undo that strap. Just place the strap to the side. Okay, so we're close into the wall, so you're going to come out and then sit. You can take your blocks away. Just have one to each side. And you're going to come down on your back, Supta Padangusthasana. So we'll have both feet at the wall. So you'll start with your knees bent, adjust your hips, and then straighten the legs. So in order to straighten the legs, I'd have to lift up, move my shoulders, but I don't want to do that. Just going to move my shirt so that it doesn't pull down too much, and then without lifting my body, without lifting my hips, straightening the legs so the flesh of the hips and the tops of my pants move down, shoulders move down, the top of my shirt moves down. And then here, I'm going to have you take a block to each side. All right, so looking at your feet, have the feet hips width, or you can bring the feet in together, but just make sure the feet are in line with your hips, thighs moving down, and then you'll take the strap and you can make a little loop with the strap. Take the strap on the foot, and here we're going to take and thread it through. So I'm bringing my right leg up. I'm going to thread it through underneath my right chest and out my left. And we're going to come into Supta Padangusthasana II. So you'll bring your leg out to the side. You can hold that strap. And let's just take the block on the outer side of that right hip so you can feel the outer hip. So we'll come back to that later. So I want you to have a sensation there on the outer hip socket, the muscles of the outer hip, and extend the leg out. And then extend this arm. Turn the chest, so both sides of the dorsal spine, the shoulder blades on the floor. Keep that left foot pressing into the wall and move the thigh down. As you bring the leg over to the side, if you want to go down a little bit further, then take the block out a bit, but be aware of the muscles of the outer hip socket, moving the skin, the flesh, the muscle close into the bone, and then feeling how that outer thigh helps you to open through the pelvis, especially that right side of the pelvis. Keep the left hip down, left chest down. Be there for a few breaths. Just watch that the top of the buttocks moving down, lower waist corners lift up through the lower back, up into the chest. Keep the foot parallel to the floor. Stay with your breath. Observe any sensation you feel. Breathe through it. Allow yourself just to be there. Get past that feeling of wanting to come out. Stay a little bit longer. Like in Baddha Konasana, we're lengthening to the inner knee. And from the outer knee, from the outer foot, we're drawing back toward the hip socket. So this leg is connected into the pelvis. The more we're connected into the pelvis, the more we can activate that circulatory system there and release any tension. All right, and then you're going to bring the leg up. Take the leg down, take the strap off. Bring the foot back to the floor, and then adjust your other block so it's going to be underneath your hip. Take the strap up onto that left foot. Thread it under the left side of the trunk, under the left chest. Hold it with the right side. Just making sure that foot is still at the wall. If you have to come a little bit closer, you can lift your hips, stretch the leg out. So you want to maintain that connection of the right foot at the wall to keep the right side of the pelvis down. And then bend the knee, hold the strap. If once you straighten the leg, you can't hold the strap, just make it either a bigger loop or come down a little bit more. And then begin to bring the leg out to the side. You're going to start to feel that block. So observing the skin, touching the flesh, gripping the bone into, or the muscle into that bone. And with that leg pressing on that block, you can feel that lengthening of the inner leg, but also the inner left side of the pelvis. Pinning your right hip down, your right thigh down. So just breathe into that. Be aware of the sensations you feel. Be aware of your breath. Be aware of your experience as you allow that space to open. Nice, soft, relaxed breath. As you hold the strap, connect the arm back into the shoulder girdle. Both sides of the upper back are on the floor evenly. And then bring the leg up, bend the knee, and take that strap off. Okay, we're going to come back to the first side. We're going to do it one more time. And this time, you're going to take the blocks away. Thread the strap again. Take the hand up on the foot again. And now you're going to bend the knee and you just move the leg all the way over so you can feel you can have a block there depending on how far you can go over. See if you can bring the foot all the way to the floor. So the thighs, the upper thighs on the floor, the foot's on the floor. Keep the foot active so that it's flexed. Okay? And now this hip has come off the floor. All right, so I'm allowing that leg to go a little bit further, still connecting, drawing it back into the hip socket. Remember where you had the block. Suck in through the muscles of the outer hip. And now I want you to turn and start to draw this outer left hip down toward the floor. Come back to the sensation of that you had around the hip socket, bringing both of those hips, the left and the right, into an action where you can feel the outer hip sockets, the muscles, and then move that hip down. So you could feel that space that you're creating in the pelvis. And then bring the leg up, bend the knee, and we'll switch sides. So you're able to bring the leg a little bit further down, but then it's lifting the other side of the pelvis and the leg. So then with that in place, using that as an anchor, you're going to bring the other side down now. Okay, so you bend the knee. One side may be more open than the other. You can have the block there as well. So having the block there just to know that that foot is more flexed, it's not moving like this, and you're not diving the toes toward the floor. So here, bring that hip up, right hip up, bringing the foot to the floor. Keep that strap taut, so pull through that right arm. And now, foot at the wall, replace that foot, press into the heel, press into the mounds of the toes, and then start to rotate and make space through your right side of your pelvis. Moving that down toward the floor, moving the chest toward the floor, the shoulder toward the floor. And then bend the knee. You could really feel that opening in the opposite pelvis. So it's good to do that every once in a while so that you can feel that extension there. Now let's just bend the knees and bring the thighs toward the chest, interlace the fingers around the shin bone. Keep the toes relaxed and just allow the groin to soften now. Deepen. So that groin is where the thigh and the pelvis connect. So that space there, just let it become soft and deep as you bring your thighs down towards your abdomen. Keep your head so that you're on the back of the head. And then just allow the breath to be soft so the softness comes into the abdominal area and the pelvic area. Feeling the left and the right side of the pelvis on the floor. using that to draw the legs down into. All right, roll to your side. And then come back into Upavistha. This time we'll do a twist. So if you do need to sit back onto that blanket, you can have a blanket. You don't need the wall this time. So extend the legs out and then slide off your blanket any amount that you can, keeping the thighs grounded. And then you're going to turn Parsva Upavistha. One hand behind you, one hand in front, beyond the fingertips. Inhale, lengthen, exhale, turn. Now getting that space now, that opening. Just feeling how different it feels from when you first started. So have the fingertips on the floor or on the blanket, whichever you feel that you have a better position to create stability through the back hand and the front hand. Inhale, exhale, turn. All right. So we'll come up now. So you can take your blanket, move it to the side. You're going to use a block. We're going to go into just a couple of standing poses. So you'll have the block at the wall. And we'll bring the foot onto the block. So first starting with a wide stride, 4.5, 5 feet apart. You're going to turn the foot and bring it onto the block. Heel lined up with the back arch. Straighten the leg. So here we're using the block to get that connection of the femur bone into the pelvis. Bring your attention back to the outer hip sockets so that those are drawing in. So there's a strong connection of the legs into the pelvis. And then bring your arm up, coming over. You can bring your hand down either onto the ankle bone or onto the floor. Press the fingertips down. Now come back to where the blocks were. That right buttock moving forward, left thigh moving back. And now open through the pelvis like we did in Supta Padangusthasana II. Broadening, widening, and then bring the arm up. Here we're going to bring the fingertips to the wall like in Parsva Konasana. So you use the fingers at the wall and turn the chest. Keep the firmness through the legs. Keep the legs connecting through the pelvis. Lift the inner back thigh and turn that back pelvis. And then bring the arm up. Come out carefully. Turn the feet. Walk the feet in. Turn to this side now. So have a nice wide stride. Turning the foot carefully. So adjust your back foot so you have enough space. Connect with the front foot, draw up through that knee, up through the femur bones, through both legs. Bring that firmness to the outer thigh. And now going over, bring the hand either onto the ankle. Just pause there, make sure you have enough space. Press through the back heel, connect with the back hip. Turn the chest. And either be there or take the hand down a little bit further, but bring this buttock forward. Connect those outer thigh muscles right at the hip socket. So bringing that firmness, hugging the muscle into the bone, turn the chest, and then bring the arm up. As you bring the arm over, now open through this back pelvis, lift the inner back thigh, keep that left buttock forward, right thigh back, turn and look underneath the arm. Come back to the feet like you did in Padangusthasana and Baddha Konasana. And then lift the arm up, come up carefully, turn your feet, and walk the feet in. So now we're going to come to Ardha Chandrasana. So we use the block at the wall. We'll bring the leg up, and we'll use the wall as support to get that openness through the pelvis so you can stay a little bit longer. I'm just adjusting my foot, toes forward. Block is going to come forward, step up, and then lift the back leg. Press the hand down on the block, lift that back leg. And this was the leg in Padangusthasana II and in Utthita Trikonasana that we were opening through that back pelvis. So get that space there. You can feel the buttock at the wall. Bring your head to the wall and move that buttock away from the wall. Any amount, turn the chest and bring the arm up. Press the bottom hand, connect with the shoulder, with the chest. Lift up through the top chest. Keep the kneecaps lifting and tight so you're not hyperextending your leg at all. Calf muscle moving forward, thigh moving back. And then let's take the hand down. Coming down carefully, step the back foot back and come up. So coming up, take the block. We'll take the block to the other side. So making that space, that back leg, close enough to the wall, toes are moving forward, bend the knee. Just making sure that you feel the evenness on the front of the foot and the back of the foot. Step up, lift the leg, move the block. Making sure you don't have anything near you that's going to distract you. Lift the leg up, lifting up through that pelvis. Bring that buttock away from the wall. As you lift the pelvis up, reach the arm up. So take that leg a little bit higher now to create more space in the pelvis, but keep the leg connected into the hip socket. Tighten the knees. The standing leg, shin bone, the calf muscle moving forward, thigh moving back. Press the heel at the wall, reach up. And then come down. Okay, so now we're going into Prasarita Padottanasana. So take your feet, turn your toes forward, come forward, bring your hands onto the floor. Underneath your shoulders, balance on both feet, move the hands back, release the head down. So you're lifting the inner thigh and make space in the front of the groin, deepening through the groin. Soften the abdominal area. Press the hand down, lift the shoulders up. You take your hands on your ankles, release your head down, bend your elbows, and bring the crown of the head on the floor if you can. If not, you can have a block there or blanket, or just face the crown of the head toward the floor. Move the inner thighs away from one another, and be aware of the outer hip sockets, the muscles of the outer hips. As you bend the elbows, lift the back of the shoulders. The neck is lengthening. And then come up and bring your hands onto your hips and come up. Right now, you're either going to have cross bolsters, go into Sirsasana on your own if you're practicing it, or go to the ropes. So I'll just show cross bolsters first. So you can use the cross bolsters here at the wall. Be far enough away that you can stretch your feet out. You'll sit a little bit toward the end, and then you'll move your shoulders down. Let the head, you can be on the back of the head. You can come a little bit further so the shoulders aren't on the floor. You can build this up a little bit too. So I'm a little close to the wall. So you'd have to be a little bit further away from the wall to use the wall. Now we're going to come over here. If you have ropes, we're going to go into the ropes. Okay, you're going to come into the ropes. If you have ropes, you'll already know how to set this up. I've got a couple blankets to provide a little bit of cushioning there around the knots of the ropes. Hoisting myself up, so I have that rope on the lower back. And then bring the soles of the feet together. And then be here. You can bring your fingertips onto the floor. Just adjust your hips so that the tailbone is moving up. I have a cushion here. If you have something handy, you can have it right behind your hips so that there's the movement of the tailbone and the buttocks forward. It's not required, but it just makes a little bit more space in the groin, kind of what we've been doing. Okay, and then you can take your arms and hold on to the elbows. If your head reaches the floor, or you have a blanket there, you can have a blanket. And just be there. So we'll do a couple variations. We'll be in Baddha Konasana, and then we'll go into Upavistha. The same thing that we've been doing in some of the other poses, we'll do hanging upside down. So here you're getting a nice traction, and the pelvis is able to open up and lengthen a little bit. Feel your breath there. Let your eyes close. Feel the experience that you can feel within the body. So your legs are externally rotating. You're in that Baddha Konasana. Inner thighs lengthening. And we've put the block there. I've put that pad there so that you can get a little bit of that sensation that we had when we went into Supta Padangusthasana. So the hips are not moving toward the wall. You can move the buttock forward. You can even keep the hands on the floor to make that experience a little bit deeper, moving the thighs toward the wall, knees toward the wall, buttock forward, opening through the pelvis. And then you can bring the legs into Upavistha Konasana. So the thighs are rotating. Sides of the heels are pressing into the wall. Keep the feet flexed, toes are spread and wide. And then you can change the cross on the arms and come back down. So the head is lengthening, the neck is lengthening, and the shoulders are still lifting up. See if you can bring evenness to your legs. So both the left and the right leg are moving down around the same amount. So keep elongating your breath so that you can feel that extension coming. And holding onto the arms so that you're getting that release through the side trunk. But at the same time, you're lifting your shoulders up. Back of the head is long. You can even have your arm, the crown of the head on your arm, to have a little bit of sensation right there at the crown. And if you chose not to do the cross bolsters or the ropes, then of course you could be in Sirsasana at the wall. If you're not doing Sirsasana, then you would be in the cross bolsters. All right, we'll bring our legs back into Baddha Konasana. Pressing the feet together again. Releasing the head. I'm going to take that pad out. If you didn't have a pad, it's okay. Just moving the buttock and the tailbone forward. And the more you move it forward, the legs are pressed against that rope, and you're getting that space in the front groin. All right, we're going to come up. So now you're going to take your hands on the ropes. Walk your hands up, turn your feet, and then straighten the legs. Just be there with straight legs. Come back to your breath. Take a few deeper breaths. And then start to walk down. Bring your head to the wall. And then you're going to turn around. For those of you that are not using the ropes, you'll just bring your hips to the wall, and you'll come into Uttanasana with your hips at the wall and your arms moving down. For those of you that have the ropes, you can bring the ropes to the tops of the thighs, walk your feet up, press the feet into the wall, and hold on with the arms. Legs are straight, so that not walking the feet up too high. So the rope is right at the top of the femur bone. And you're using your arms to extend and lengthen. And now, those of you at the wall, with the hips at the wall, come into forward Virasana. Here with the rope, we're coming into forward Virasana, bending the knees. Those of you that are on the floor, extend your arms forward, drawing your hips back towards your heels. Those of you in the ropes, bring your hands back. Walk your hands back, release your head down. Let the front groin deepen, lower back lengthening. You can take your hands on your shins, come closer. Relaxed breath. All right, coming out now. So you're going to bring your feet down onto the floor. Just come into Uttanasana. And then you'll come up. And now you'll get a chair. Okay, we're coming into Viparita Karani. Have a blanket on the chair, have a block near you. We'll first come into Chatushpadasana. So have your chair at the wall. We're going to use it to press into. And then you can either have a blanket here or a mat. I had a blanket handy. So now I'm bringing my feet onto the front edge of the chair, walking in until I can extend my arms, hold the chair legs, and then from there, lift up. Rolling the shoulders under, pressing the feet down, lift the pelvis, tailbone into the body, thighs are parallel. Now from there, I'm going to take my block. So I'm bringing the block right at the tailbone, right at the sacrum. Keep the arms rolling under. So from that Chatushpadasana, lift up again, have the block there, and then finally tilt the pelvis, bring your hip onto the block, and then you're going to extend the legs. So from here, have the heels on the top of the chair rail, and just observe where that block is on your tailbone, your sacral area. Thighs descending down. So keep the weight from the front of the thigh moving toward that chair rail or the chair seat. Press your shoulders down. Lift your chest. Take a few deeper breaths. Bring one leg up. come into Viparita Karani. Hips are heavy, legs are connected into the pelvis. Abdomen is relaxed. So from the lower ribs, of the upper ribs, the rib cage near the diaphragm, top of the abdomen moving down, and then the lower part right near the pubic bone, abdomen moving down there, and onto the left and the right side, the pelvic bones. Release the abdomen there. And now bring the feet down. You're going to bring the feet to the chair and come into Baddha Konasana again. So let the gravity move the legs down. So you have the block there, which creates that firm foundation for the tailbone and the lower back, and just allowing the groins to spread and that pelvis to open up. You can even take your toes on the chair so they're not sliding if you're on a blanket, and release the legs. It's a very nice, relaxing feeling, that openness and that support of the shoulders and the depth of the breath in the chest and the abdominal area. All right, now you're going to bring your feet back onto the chair and lift up again off that block, and then take the block down so it's on its lower height and just rest there for a bit. You can take your legs out to the side, hook your legs, but just having a transition from being on that block, feeling the block horizontal across your sacral band. Just be there for a few breaths. Abdomen relaxing down, pelvis heavy on that block. And then we'll take Savasana in the chair. So you can lift your hips up, take the block away, and then have your legs on the chair. If your femur bones are long, you can have a pad to raise this up, or you can, if you're shorter and you need more height, then you can have that block so that the legs rest on the chair. Okay, if you need a blanket, have a blanket for the back of the head. Otherwise, adjust your shoulders, move the head away so that the neck is long. Chin is moving down towards your chest. And now just release everything. Release any tightness in the abdominal area, in the chest, in the arms, in the legs. And just allow the softness to come into the groin, right? Releasing the legs completely on the chair. Femur bones down toward the hips. Feel the lower back broad and wide. Stay with your breath, using your exhalation to release. Namaste.